This is a quick video, I hope, to show you how you can assign billable costs, particularly to a grant or a contract. The situation is that you've gone out and done some work. If it's a grant, it's a reimbursable grant, which means that you do the work and then get paid for it later. That is exactly the way a contract works. You may have contracts as well, which is you go do the work and then you get paid for it later. I have created an example grant contract. This is in the sample company that QuickBooks provides for playing around, which is what I'm doing here. The customer is the Ragu travel agency I just picked at random. And in this particular case, they haven't paid us any money. You can see we have zero income and zero cost at this point. So what we need to do then is we need to apply some costs and say that it's billable. We want to be invoice the grant, not just the customer, but the grant or contract for these costs. That's important. So I go up here to new and I'm going to simply record an expense. Now my categories are not going to be nonprofit specific because the sample company is designed for a landscaping company, I believe, but the principle is the same. So I come along here and I find a vendor, let's say Cal Telephone. I'm going to pay it out of my checking account on this date. The category would be what? Let's see what we have here. Telephone. How about that? And here we have, now, this is important. You want to put a lot of data in here for something that happens later on. So in this case, I'm saying it's 11/4/2024 dash Cal telephone costs. I'm going to actually spell telephone properly. It's going to be $99.99. Now we mark it as billable. I leave tax alone. Most of us don't have to worry about it. And here I have to assign it to the grant or the contract. So I'm going to type the word grant in to search for that. And lo and behold, there it is. Now you'll notice it lists both the customer or the donor or the grantor, and then it lists the grant as well. So it's two things. We do this because your donors, especially grantors, may, or contractors, or customers rather, may have more than one contract or more than one grant for you. So what we've done is we've said, hey, we've got this information, it's utility. Here's my telephone costs. And anything that you want to put in here, because this is what's going to go on the invoice that we're going to bill this grant. So I'm going to say save and close. I'm going to head and do a second one. Another expense. Let's get somebody else here. Oil and gas. He usually does fuel. And again, I put in a lot of data. Whatever this date is, whenever the payment date was. And then I put in we're just going to leave this at 5656. Again, mark it as billable. And then over here, I'm going to do the grant again. That's why I always put the word grant or the word contract as part of the grant or contract name so I can find it. And then I simply say save and close. I can also do this with hourly charges. That's a little more complicated depending upon how you apply hours. So at this point, here what we have is $152.55. Let's drill down a little bit and get some detail. Here we are. This is our second level of dashboard for this particular grant. This is the grant. This is the customer or donor. In this case, you can see we have our $99 and our $52. And now we're going to go to project reports. And I'm going to go to unbilled time and expenses. And you can see that there are two charges that have not yet been billed to our friends at this particular grant. What we want to do now is we want to invoice them for these charges. So I go up here to new, I create an invoice. Once again, I type the word grant, and because I put that in the name, here it is, the example grant or a contract. And also notice this is to the grant along with the customer, not just the customer or grantor. Then I come over here and say add all. And lo and behold, it fills in the data for you. And here's that description that was so important. We needed to have that in there. Here's when I paid it. Here's to whom I paid, plus any other description you might need to have here. And it loaded in the amounts automatically. Now I go ahead and say save and send. I'm actually going to say save and close because I don't want it to send anything. It actually wouldn't anyway. So now what I do is go back. Oops. Let's go back to projects. I think we lost it. Projects, our example grant. And you'll notice that we've charged $152 and we've invoiced $152. We still have to collect it, but we're operating on the accrual basis here. And so that means that this money is, uh, uh, we put it into our coffers. Unbilled time and expenses, I have 0. Let's go back to project details. Project profitability, it lists it for me. So this is a lovely report that we get for all our grants or our contracts saying how much money we took in and how much we have charged. In this case, our net income is 0 because we billed them for $152 and we spent $152. So if this were, yeah, so that's the way that works. So that's how you set up a charge to be billable and you bill it out to the contract or the grantor. Thank you.